Hello, welcome back. My name is Charlie, and I just, 5 minutes ago, finished watching a video by Rachel reading Faerie. Rachel is a friend of the channel, fellow parent booktuber. They make a lot of really great content. A lot of very raw, unfiltered opinions. Really good stuff. I highly recommend checking them out. I'll link to them below. They just put out a video talking about the 5 audiobooks that they highly recommend, and I watched it, got a lot of great recommendations, and I instantly thought of my own list of 5 audiobooks that I would like to recommend to people as well, and I thought, why not? I'll make a video on that. So thank you, I guess, Rachel. I'm stealing this from you, so thank you feels strange to say because I did not ask for permission. Thank you, Rachel, for this idea that I'm stealing from you. I just thought it was a really good topic. I read a lot of books, and most of the reading that I do these days is done through audiobooks, and I've listened to a good number of them at this point, and I have recommendations, so I wanted to share them with you. A lot of these books I've talked about here on the channel before because these are some of my favorite books, honestly, but I'm going to be talking about them mostly through the lens of their audiobook quality today. Each of these books I do think that you should just read in general. I'd recommend all of these books that I'm about to mention, but with an asterisk of the fact that I did really enjoy the listening experience, and so I would recommend that you pick up the audiobook specifically for all of these. And I think I'm actually going to start off with the one book in this list that is audio only, so there is no physical counterpart to this book. I know there is a graphic novel of this, but I don't think it's the same story. I think it's like a companion story. Like it's set in the same world, maybe with some of the same characters, but it's not like a direct retelling of the story as far as I know. And this audiobook is called Impact Winter. This is one of the first audiobooks that I listened to when I was trying to get into listening to audiobooks in general. And it's definitely the first audiobook that I listened to that has a full cast and, really high production value and sound effects and things like that. But all of it done really well. Like none of the sound effects were overbearing, and they were leveled out really well. Like the mixing was done well, so it's not like you couldn't hear the voices because you were listening to the wind or anything like that. I wonder if this is technically an audiobook since there is no physical counterpart. I don't honestly know how that works. It's like an audio drama, I guess. Regardless, I'm putting it on this list. I think it counts. It counts for me, and this is my list, so my rules. So again, audiobook only. It's possible that it's Audible only, although I think at some point it was also on Apple Podcasts, but I'm not sure how that's handled right now. I think it might be Audible exclusive now. There are 3 books or seasons, or there's 3 installments of it. I've listened to the first 2, and book 1 specifically I loved. I went into this book completely blind, and I remember walking through the subway in New York City and seeing a lot of ads for it at the time. I think it was a big deal that it was this new kind of audiobook, or at least to me it was new. I don't know. I wasn't that into this stuff at the time. So anyway, there's a lot of ads for it, and I just picked it up kind of on a whim. The poster looked neat. That was all I knew. And so I'm not really going to give you kind of anything about the story. I'm not going to give you, I guess, anything about the story. I don't want to do that because I want you to experience it the way that I did, because I went in blind and I loved it. But I will just tell you that it was really good. It was really well done. Even story aside, the actual audiobook was fantastic. Is fantastic. There's a lot of effects, but none of them are overbearing. The mixing is done really well, so there's no, there's wind in the background, and it's not taking away from the story. It's all additive, I think. It didn't, it's not drowning out the voices, and the sound effects all make sense, and it just adds to the story, I thought. It adds to the overall experience. It feels like it's like you're watching a movie, but without the seeing it. The screen is off, but the rest of it is all very theatrical. It has the I think it was produced by somebody who worked on The Walking Dead, or like produced The Walking Dead. It has a huge cast, but not just like in numbers. It has a huge cast in like talent. Like I think 3 of the voice actors are people who were in Game of Thrones, the show. And really all of the performances, especially in book 1, specifically book 1 is what I'm talking about here. All of the performances were terrific. I have listened to book 1 and 2, and there is a third out, but I haven't picked that one up just yet. They're all like what I think like 6 hours or something. They're not very long. So I'll probably pick up. I think they call it seasons actually, and not books. It's a whole weird thing. I haven't picked up the third one yet, but I will probably pick it up relatively soon. I loved book 1. Book 2 was still good, but I had some issues with like voice acting, and honestly, I had read it so far apart from book 1 that I kind of forgot a lot of stuff. So at some point, I feel like I would just do a reread and start over book 1 and just work my way through all 3 that exist. I don't know if there's going to be a 4th or anything like that, but all I know is they do a really good job with these, and I'm kind of looking forward to a reread or like a re-listen. So if you haven't checked it out, consider going in blind, or go read the synopsis and see if it actually sounds like anything you'd be into. I don't honestly know if I would have picked it up at the time if I did read the synopsis. Like it didn't sound like, or it doesn't on paper sound like anything that necessarily like I would like, but or at least not me at the time. But it was exactly what I like, so it worked out. Anyway, do with that what you will. And since I'm not going to tell you anything more about it, we're going to move on to book 2. This next one does have a physical book as well as an audiobook. The rest of these do. But for this one, I don't actually own that physical book, and I honestly don't really have a desire to. Like I listen to a lot of books and I own them physically, and because I like going back and forth between formats, even though a lot of the time I mostly read a book through the audiobook, but still I'll read a chapter or 2, or sometimes the whole book kind of I'm like tandem reading. And anyway, this book, I have no desire really to ever read this book or this series physically. Like the audiobook is so good that even though I like the way that the physical books like look, and I like having both, I truly don't have a desire to pick these up from the store. I just don't. The audiobooks are just too good. I don't think that I would want to read it physically. I have not done that, so I can't really tell you if the experience is that much worse physically reading it compared to the audio version of it. But I can't imagine that I would get the same out of it reading it with my eyes. Based on all that, you may have already guessed what I'm about to say. You may have already guessed what series I'm about to talk about, because I don't think that's a very unpopular opinion. I know there are people who, they have only ever read it physically, and they have no issue with that. It's great, I'm sure. But I kind of have to imagine that if you did listen to the audiobook version of it, I imagine almost everybody would pick that over the physical one. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe that's not true at all. But anyway, I'm burying the lead here for no reason. The series is Dungeon Crawler Carl, obviously. I've read 3 of these, and I've loved all of them. I don't know why I haven't picked up book 4 yet. I will probably be doing that very soon. I know that I've definitely talked about this series before here on the channel, like several times, so I'll give you the really quick version of what this is about. It's essentially all structures on the earth have flattened and everybody in them dies. And so anybody that's outside, like our main character Carl and his cat, survives, and they don't get to, they're kind of forced to join this like intergalactic television show, and it's horrible. It's like Hunger Games, but at a huge scale, like hundreds of thousands of participants, and they're whittling their way down. Fewer and fewer of them survive each level of this like dungeon that they're working their way through. This is a lit RPG series, which means like literary role-playing game. So the main characters all of the characters are like literally leveling up, and they acquire gear, and they have an inventory, and there's there's AI kind of things, and it's interesting. I had never read a lit RPG before this. I still haven't read any other lit RPG outside of Dungeon Crawler Carl, but it definitely has piqued my interest in that like genre or subgenre as a whole. It's I thought that would be strange and take you out of the story for a minute, but it's woven in really well into this series, at least. It's a very silly series, but there's also a surprising amount of depth to not only like the characters, but the world, the lore. Like there's a lot of things that have happened like before these books that were we're getting sprinkled into our brains, and like I said, there are some real serious moments. There's some real like really emotional pieces that happen throughout all these like fart jokes and stuff, right? Because again, it's very silly, but it's a very complex thing. They do a really good job at balancing these emotional moments with these ridiculous moments, in my opinion. Anyway, I'm here to talk more about the audiobook than the story itself. The audiobook is tremendous. It's so good. This is written by Matt Dinneman, and it's narrated by Jeff Hayes. Jeff Hayes is insane. I highly recommend you go and check out Jeff Hayes. Like, I'm sure if you just search on YouTube, like Jeff Hayes narrating Dungeon Crawler Carl, you can see him. He does so many things with his voice that I just can't comprehend. Like he has so many different voices, and they're all so distinct and so just I don't know how he does it. I don't know. You look at his face and you're watching him make that sound, and it just doesn't make any sense. They're so good. They're so good. I feel like most audiobook narrators will use different voices for different characters, but I genuinely would have believed that this was a full cast of actors the first time I was listening to this. But no, it's all just him. It's all just Jeff Hayes and his magical voice box. And on top of that, there is just also a really high production value here. Again, there's like sound effects and things like that, which I don't think I need. Like I definitely don't need that sort of thing to be in my audiobooks, but when they're done well, it really, again, it's additive only. It really just enhances the experience. It did not take me away from anything. Just to, there was one thing so far in all three of these books. There was one thing that I didn't like about the audio, like the production. And that was, honestly, it wasn't even that kind of thing. It was more of a voice, like a sound that one of the characters made that made me want to die. But outside of that, everything is just, I think, honestly, flawless in terms of delivery and just, so good, so good. And on top of all that production, the story is terrific. So again, highly recommend. It's not the last time you're going to hear me talk about this series here on the channel. I can promise you that. This next book is very different from all the other books that are on this list. It's definitely very different from the last two books that I mentioned. There's no sound effects. There's no cast, and there's not even really like a hired voice actor. I mean, he's hired. I'm sure he got paid, but the voice actor in the audiobook is just the author of this book. And that book is Mythos by Stephen Fry. I don't know if you can see that with my lighting here. It's not so good, but this is so good. The audiobook specifically is so good. Stephen Fry did a very good job on this audiobook. I mean, he did a really good job on this book in general, and I guess as a whole. It blew me away. I talk about this book a decent amount, especially considering the fact that I haven't read any of the other books in this series yet, but I really want to, and I will be doing that all on audiobook. Or at this point, I will probably be tandem reading this, but I'll get to that in a second. I don't even fully know how to describe why Stephen Fry's narration is so good, but it is. Have you ever met anybody that just like is hyper into some subject? It could even be like a subject you don't care about, and it doesn't matter what that subject is because they're so into it that you could just listen to them talk about it forever. That's like Stephen Fry is just so clearly invested in his craft. He's so clearly into Greek mythology, and so he has put so much time into reimagining these stories and retelling these Greek myths in such an easily understood way. Like he's so good at presenting these stories and explaining them to you, and I feel like the whole way through you feel that you can hear that in his voice, and I was blown away by that. I'm sucked in by his enthusiasm for the subject. There's no fancy audio effects. There's no cast of actors or anything like that. It's just Stephen Fry reading to you the book that he wrote. It's so good, in fact, that I listened to this book on audio like a year or two before I ever looked at the physical book, which that alone says nothing at all, right? I just hadn't done that. But one day I was just in the store and I picked it up off the shelf, and I think I was talking to somebody and I was like, oh yeah, this is a great book. And I was flipping through the pages for, no reason, whatever. And I then realized that this book is filled with pictures, and I had no idea about that when I was listening to it on audio. But it's filled with them, like textbook style, almost like a lot of the pages have diagrams and pictures and things that he's talking about are shown to you on the page. And I had no idea when I was reading it on audio like years ago, and it didn't matter at all. It took nothing away from the experience not being able to look at those pictures. I did not know that I was missing this, sensory input that it was offered in the physical version of this book. I don't think you need it. I'm glad to have the book now, and if I do ever re-listen to it, I plan on doing that with the book in front of me. And for the rest of this series, I plan on doing that. I like tandem reading it with it, in my ear and in front of my face so that I can look at the pictures. But you don't need it, which I think that says a lot. I don't know. He just has a way of explaining it to you and letting you paint your own pictures in your mind. He did a really, really, really good job with this audiobook. I was very impressed. And I like Greek mythology. I like the retellings of these Greek myths. I think his retellings, again, are really easy to understand and easy to follow, and there's nothing is fluffy and flowery, and it's just like it sounds like a person talking you through it. It's just having a conversation with you about Greek mythology. I think he did a tremendous job. I can't speak highly enough of this audiobook. And in a somewhat similar vein, this next book, or really series, it's a similar level of passion that you feel when you're listening to this audiobook. Because again, this audiobook is narrated by the author, or these audiobooks are narrated by the author. And these books are The Black-Tongue Thief and The Daughter's War by Christopher Bjornman. The Daughter's War specifically, I've talked about several times here on the channel. I love this book. I think this was my favorite book of last year. I'm pretty confident in that. It is so good. I really, really had a good time with this. And I enjoyed book one as well, The Black-Tongue Thief. I thought it was really good. That's why I picked up this other one. The Black-Tongue Thief is technically like book one of this series, and this is like book zero. It's a prequel novel. It takes place before the events of The Black-Tongue Thief, following a different character. And the tonal shift between these two books, I think, is huge. The first one, Black-Tongue Thief, being like kind of funny and witty and light-hearted, although, big things happen in it, right? It's got action and it's got some serious things and dark tones for sure throughout it, but it's got this light, whimsical feel to it almost. And then The Daughter's War, completely devoid of all of that. It's dark and harrowing and brutal and it's so good. But Christopher Bjornman's acting in it, his voice acting, is terrific in both of these, and his voices for the characters are phenomenal, and the way that he expresses these emotions, it's just he does a really good job. I know that he has like a background not in like traditional acting, but in what is it called? Like reenactments, like medieval times sort of things. What do you call that? Ren fairs? He does Renaissance fairs, that sort of thing. I believe that's the case. And so he definitely has an acting background, and it really shines through in these books. And I know that I've listened to him in an interview, I think with Books Review Kill, and he was talking about that and how he really loves to narrate his audiobooks, and he doesn't always get the chance to do that, but now that he has a good deal of reputation, or he's written a lot of books now at this point, and so at this stage of his career he has more freedom to do that. And I think he's terrific at it, and I can't believe that his publishers didn't let him do this kind of always, but I'm so glad that he's able to do it now. I also have listened to and loved the audiobook for Between Two Fires. I thought that the narrator he had on that was terrific, but I know he also has himself reading that book available on YouTube for free also. I'm sure that's a great experience too, based off of having listened to him talk through these books. So again, highly recommend that series, and I would push you towards the audiobook for those books as well. And then finally, for the last one that I want to mention, I don't know if to call it a book that I like, or a series that I like, or really just an audiobook narrator duo that I like, but Michael Kramer and Kate Redding are fantastic audiobook narrators. And again, early on in getting into books, one of the earlier audiobooks that I listened to, especially like the high fantasy kind of audiobooks, was Mistborn, or The Final Empire, and that is narrated by Michael Kramer. So I was going to just say that The Final Empire narrated by Michael Kramer, but as I went to go get the book, I don't have it on my shelf because I lent it out to a friend, and then I was realizing it's not The Final Empire that I think was really well narrated. It's almost all of the Cosmere, because almost all of the Cosmere, Brandon Sanderson's Connected Universe, was narrated by Michael Kramer and his wife, Kate Redding. They're just a terrific narrator duo. I know not everybody thinks so. There are some people who can't stand them and their narrator style or their narration, but I am not in that camp. I think they're terrific, and I could listen to either or both of them talk all day long. There are a couple of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere books that are not narrated by this duo, and I was very bummed when I found that out when I was listening to those books, and I was like, oh shoot, like this is a very different experience. And they are just so tied into Brandon Sanderson books for me that they're the only people that I want to listen to reading his books. But with them, I can't really explain why. I mean, they do their voices well, and they carry out their lines as they're supposed to. And I can't really explain exactly why I think that they are so good, but I do, and they are. And I don't want to listen to Brandon Sanderson's books read by anybody else. I am aware also that they narrate other people's books, not just Brandon Sanderson's books, but I think I've only ever listened to them reading Brandon Sanderson's books. And yeah, it works for me. It works perfectly for me. I think they do a terrific job with that. And Brandon Sanderson's books are not easy to narrate. I don't think, just because not because things are hard to pronounce or anything, but because they're so long. At least the whole Way of Kings, the whole Stormlight Archives, I mean, those are big books, and so that's impressive that they're able to carry out the quality of narration, I think, across all those pages, and across not just an individual book in that series, but the series as a whole, and then also all these other books in the Cosmere. It's very consistent quality. I know what I'm in for when I pick up one of those audiobooks, and I can honestly, at this point, I can listen to them at like over 2 times speed, because I'm just so comfortable with their voices. I'm so used to their voices, and it just works with my brain. I can't explain it further than that. It's just, I think they do a really good job. And that's it. Those are my 5 recommendations, 5 audiobooks that I love. And it's true probably that I'm biased in my adoration of these audiobooks based on my adoration of the books themselves, but really I don't think so. I truly think that the audiobooks specifically for these are just all really, really well done. I hope that you'll check some of them out. And please let me know down in the comments, what are some of your favorite audiobooks that you've listened to, or some of your favorite narrators that you listen to. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts. If you've listened to any of these on audio or read them physically, what do you think? Do you agree that the audiobook is superior on these? Because I genuinely do. And if you haven't read any of these, but you have an audiobook recommendation for me, please let me know that in the comments as well. I'm always looking for a good audiobook. Thank you so much, as always, for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.